Hey everybody, welcome back to On Stage, Off Stage. I'm your host, George Sapio, and this is episode number 191, June of 2025. Our guests are playwright Laura Shamas and multidisciplinary artist Harriette Feliz. You may remember Laura from episode number 131, way back in July 2020, when we featured her play White Dress on the show. Today, Laura and Harriette are here to talk about Laura's play Four Women in Red, which recently finished a run at the Victory Theater in Burbank, California. Harriette is one of the four cast members. Four Women in Red addresses the ongoing epidemic of violence against Native American women. Warning, some of the material that follows may be unsettling to some audience members. From everything I've been reading about Four Women in Red, it's led me from one thing to the next, and the more I read about this, the more powerful the subject matter becomes. Laura, please talk about, you've been a playwright for many, many years. Why are you tackling this issue now?
Well, I started tackling this issue in 2020 because it is an international and national emergency. And we're trying to bring attention to this issue. And I just looked around in 2020 when I first started writing about a short version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And said, why isn't there more discussion of this in the theater space of the United States of America? I think it's been far more discussed, let's say, in a First Nation Canadian approach on main stages there than it has been in this country. So I just, what meager talents I have, I was like, what could I bring, what could I do to try and bring attention to this in this country? And so that's why I started writing it. And I started writing it because during the pandemic height in 2020, I was part of Native Voices at the Autry's writers group of Indigenous writers. And George, I would go every month to it and start crying just because I was so happy to see other writers there, see Native American writers around me and on the screen. And it was so supportive. And so when they announced that they were going to have a virtual festival of short plays, I thought, well, I've got to be part of, try to support that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I didn't know if my play would get selected for their virtual festival. It's not, there are a lot of talented Native American writers. So, but I got lucky and they did select it. But as Harriette can tell you, there's a scarf passing part of the play. And, that's very hard to do on Zoom. But, they did their best with that, trying to do it in the squares of Zoom. And somebody saw that because it was virtual, somebody saw it back east. And I want to say his name, Carl Randolph of Transformation Theater. And he saw it and he said, and I had been working with him on another project too. And he said, Laura, if you can expand this play, I will program it virtually next year, 2021, November, in our virtual season. And so I said, first I had to think about it because it is really, as you both know, really tough material.
Yeah.
And I also thought, I don't know, can I? I don't know. But then I just decided I would give it a try. And so I did. And in July of 2021, I turned in a draft to him. And then other people came on board for that. And it was done virtually in November of 2021. And in fact, some of the people involved in this production at the Victory were people who got initially involved with the show at that point. Because it was virtual, you could live anywhere and be part of it. So anyway, Maria Gobetti of the Victory Theater ended up seeing that broadcast from back east. So now it's bounced back and forth from the coast to, to the DC area, now back to LA when she saw it. And then she in 2023, and then Native Voices did picked up the full-length version as part of the Festival of New Plays in 2022. And members of the Victory Theater's board came to see that at Native Voices at the Outry. And again, some of the same people who were involved with it in the virtual reading became involved with it in person. We were all masked and everything still then, but we were meeting in person, you know.
Right, yeah.
And so then after that, Maria Gobetti and the Victory Theater nominated the play for the Los Angeles New Play program.
Mhm.
And just, you know, shockingly, it won $40,000. The play itself won $20,000 that I got to keep, and then the Victory Theater won $20,000 that they had to use towards the production of the play. So that's just, so since it won one of the LANPP awards, you know, we were just waiting for it to go up at the Victory, and then it did, and Harriette is a major part of it. Harriette is a star of Today and Tomorrow. I mean, she is just fantastic. She's so good, George. I mean, I could take up the rest of the time just bragging on Harriette because she is so fantastic.
I'll
So
call you after this, Laura.
okay. Well, anyway, that's really the trajectory of the play. I mean, it's really been a long haul, and so my desire to infiltrate the American main stage has now begun, you know, with this, because I really think that people need to be talking about it. People need to be calling. And honestly, if anyone hearing this today does one action towards trying to stop this horrible crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women, if you pick up your phone and call your representative and say, what are you doing about this? This needs to be stopped. Then I will feel like, oh, well, this was a really worthwhile interview. Not for anything I have to say. I mean, I love listening to Harriette. I know she will say worthwhile things. And you're always worthwhile, George, too. I mean, you know, you're welcome. But I mean, seriously, people need to start trying to take action against it. It's going to take all of us to try and fix it.
This is not an easy issue to discuss or to solve. I don't, yeah, that's, which is an extremely weak word when it comes to something this tragic. Before we go any further, I want to congratulate you on being one of the few playwrights this year who's actually made any money doing doing this.
Well, thanks. I mean, you know, yeah, we don't do it for that, right?
Oh, good gosh, no. If we did, well, that's a completely different thing.
And I'm sure you know too, George, she's just a fabulous writer. And you know,
Oh.
no, really, you are. And what's really cool about Laura is how she's written such strong women that are just so full. Those characters are such full beings already that she makes it easy to be able to step into those roles, even with material that is, obviously we're talking about it, it's hard material. It's tough to let go of every night, but she just makes these characters that are so multidimensional and so lovely that you root for them and you cry with them and you're mad with them and you're mad at them all at the same time. So just want to make sure that we're shouting out Laura properly because she's
Harriette,
such a cheerleader of us as well.
Well, I'm a huge cheerleader of them. I mean, seriously, before we go any further, George, and you get a word in, I just wanted to say, I just want to say what they do every night on stage with this play. The actors go through so much. I have so much admiration for them to be able to do these roles. I don't know how they do it. And there's a line in the show about how it falls to Native American women to be the people to bring this to our attention, to call it out, and to lead on how to you know, end it, the crisis. And I really admire the actors being part of that movement, because it's just incredible what they do every night. I mean, they make the audience laugh and cry every night, you know, and it's just amazing. It's amazing.
Let's talk about the play itself. We've been talking about the play, and I'm using quotes here, the play. Let's talk about the material. Let's walk us through the premise, walk us through the issue, because the idea behind this is shocking, okay, to people who are not familiar with this. This is an epidemic going on of missing and murdered Native American women And first, I want to talk about the play, and then I want to talk about why it's an epidemic, why this issue doesn't get more play, and why it's so damn difficult to get headway on any of the individual cases. What do we see when we walk in?
Well, I always carry around this sheet, George, which is a list of statistics from the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center
Mm-hmm.
about violence against Native women. So, more than 4 out of 5 American Indian and Alaska Native women have experienced violence in their lifetimes. Native women suffer from violence at a rate 2.5 times greater than any population in the US, any other population. 1 in 3 Native women will be raped in her lifetime. 4 in 5 Native women will be victims of a violent assault. And it's startling that non-Native perpetrators commit the majority of these crimes. And on some reservations, Native women are killed at 10 times the national average.
How does this
So,
happen?
well, I don't know if you want to get into all the reasons now, or if we just want to keep describing what happens in the show. But I know.
Let's talk about the show, and then we'll come to
Okay,
this because
but
my head
if
is spinning.
anyone, yeah, by the way, these stats that I've just read off to you from the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center, which is niwrc.org, if anyone wants to look it up, these are dated stats. We're desperately in need of new data. And that is something that many different communities are working on, because even as we say in the play, these are the most recent stats, but it's worse. It's worse. It's more than this. So what happens in the play is, and maybe I should let Harriette talk about
Yeah,
this.
Your play.
Let's hear Harriette's voice from the inside of the play. Because you have to get up there and do this
Well,
every night,
my elevator pitch, and I realize this is a discussion, not an elevator pitch. But what I usually say is that this is about 4 women who have lost someone in their lives, and who are desperately looking for answers for those missing women.
Mm-hmm.
This play is about 4 women coming together and starting a coalition. They're trying to make the change and trying to build a community to continue to find these women, because it doesn't seem like anybody cares that they're missing. We meet all 4 of these women in the sheriff's waiting room, waiting to hear any kind of news about these cases. And some of these cases are 5 years old, some of these cases are 2 months old, and so we have a variety, but we're all in the same place where we have no new leads. And so it's just about those women banding together and saying, like, hey, we have the same hurt, we're missing the same thing. If we band together, there's strength there. I also say that we don't break the Bechdel test. There is no Bechdel test, because we're not talking about men at all. I'm sorry, George. But it's really, I've never been in a show or any kind of project that so clearly was focused on women, and it's not that the men aren't present, it's just that they're not necessary to the story. Again, sorry, George.
No worries, we're good.
Well,
It's
that
got to
was
be.
great, Harriette.
Yeah, it's got to be something for you to get up there and work through this material every night. Even though, yes, you've done the lines and you're doing the play one more time, you're reliving this horrific experience, this in disgusting situation with all these horrible, horrible stats, and doing the research. I came across a little tiny quote. It's just a little tiny quote, and it's someone knows somewhere.
Mhm.
All right, meaning what has happened to each one of these women.
Yeah.
And just that fact that somebody knows somewhere is in itself highly tragic. Trying to find out that information. Where did these women go? What happened to them? And why in such incredible numbers? It seems almost unbelievable.
Right. And why have Native American women been dehumanized in this way, where it doesn't matter. Why does it not matter to people that our sisters are missing? It's kind of wild. I mean, the case of Emily Pike is a great example. We have barely seen any coverage of this. She was a 14-year-old girl that was found dismembered along the side of the road in Arizona, I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago now. And it's not getting any attention. I think that there's maybe one local article about that, but I encourage everybody to Google that. It's a case that we should be talking about, and my heart goes out to Emily and her family, and
What's the
hopefully
law
we can.
enforcement like out there where this occurred? I mean, who's is it Native American law enforcement? Is it not? I mean, who should be
Right.
looking into this and why aren't they?
Well, I mean, I'm sure Harriet could answer that, but I'll just jump in. I mean, one of the things we talk about in the show is that there are jurisdictional elements that can stop law enforcement from being able to look at it. If they say it's tribal police versus local police versus, state versus, or, law enforcement, I should say, not police, can become tribal versus local versus state versus federal. So there can be major jurisdictional fights over who really gets to do it, and how close it is to a reservation can be part of it, because it can be deemed, quote unquote, reservation adjacent. That's a term that would mean someone else would look at it, not the tribal police. It depends on the state. And so I'm not qualified to issue a really blanket answer about Arizona in that case. It's happening right now in Arizona. But Harriet's right. Everyone should look into it. You should look into what's happening with Emily Pike's case. And just imagine that this has been happening to thousands and thousands and thousands of Native American women. Thousands and thousands, and no one knows where they are, and they can't solve it.
So a lot of this is due to politics and red tape.
Well,
It's a question of who has the authority to investigate, depending upon where the incident supposedly took place. I mean, a lot of these
some of
women
that,
are missing. So, I mean, how do you even begin with that?
Harriet, you want to
I
take
know
that?
it's that, but it's also, I mean, I think it also comes down to the racism of not respecting Native women and not necessarily only white men, but
Mm.
men that are not Native coming in and hurting these Native women. Like, why is that happening to begin with? Why is there such a violence, and why is it directed at Native women? Is it because they're placed in these man camps, which we also talk about in the show, to do labor of some kind, and it's adjacent to the reservations? Is that it? Has the media maybe, stigmatized Native women in like a sexual way? Why is it happening? I think like it's at the source is like why it's happening in the first place. Like, yes, there's jurisdictional tape. Yes, there's federal issues, but I think that we need to like maybe think about too, like the psychology of why are we disposable to certain people?
Yeah. The play is about these four women who come in. Well, first of all, I want to talk about the title. Just first of all, four women in red, and red has meaning. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I could talk for a long time about it. It's something that is discussed in the play quite a bit. But I mean, the play begins with four women who don't know each other meeting in a sheriff's office, and they've come for case updates on their missing and murdered loved ones. That's why they're all there, and they end up talking to each other about their cases and why they're there. And that starts this kind of, as Harriet put it so well, a coalition. And one of the things that you find out is that they wear red shawls every night when they pray and talk to their missing loved ones to try and bring them home. We learn in the show that in many traditions, red is the color that the spirits can see. And that's another reason they wear red. I believe that Harriette even says a line in the show that red represents the blood spilt by the ancestors and our missing loved ones. And red, the term code red is used in there. I'm seeing red. That's definitely part of what it is. It's I really tried to work every metaphor of red that I could come at, from a Native American perspective and also a general perspective. And they wear red ceremonially at the end of the show, so you see them in red, and the lighting puts red on them in the very last moment of the show as well. So you're getting all of those different elements of what Redmond means by the end of the play. That's what and of course, red is a color that was used in a derogatory way to represent Native Americans.
Right. We remember that from all those wonderful movies with the cowboys and the Indians.
Right. And who are most of the time, Native Americans were not playing those roles,
Oh no, yeah, it's hardly. Oh boy, this.
Do you want us to talk more about the play and what happened?
Yeah.
Let's. Because listen, I'm married to a playwright, which we don't need to get into right now. But what, because married.
You have my deepest sympathies.
I know, and he'd feel the same way actually. So, but one of the things that he said to me, my husband is John Klein. And he said to me, Laura, one of the things I just love so much about watching this play is that the women take action in every scene. And that's something that I mean, they have tremendous agency in the show, and they try everything. Like, if you come see this show, you will see what it is that Native American women have had to do in terms of bringing leadership legislatively, bringing leadership in terms of grid searches. If you can imagine being a Native American woman and having to go into a forest area and actually search for a missing or murdered loved one, that you could, every step you take, you might come across her. I mean, they do everything they can in this show. And you see the various iterations of their agency, and from spiritual to practical, and so I was really glad to hear my non-native husband say that he just really admired the agency that each character has in it, and that every scene is about stepping forward in some way, their agency to try and reach their missing and murdered loved ones. So
yeah,
go ahead.
It's agency and it's bravery, right? Too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because they're putting themselves in these positions that they know their loved ones are missing. They know that people are missing, and they're going in these forests because that's close to where that person went missing. So that's like an incredibly dangerous position to put themselves in, and not to mention, like, the law enforcement, they really don't have that support. So it's really just a group of women, which is even more of a dangerous situation. So I'm just glad that you've written these characters, Laura, that we can really explore, that are so brave and so, I mean, I want to be Joe when I grow up.
Oh, you're already Joe, Harriette, and more. Anyway, that's very kind.
Have you changed the play at all since it's been up and getting produced?
Not since it's been up, but Harriette will be glad to tell you that I was giving her changes, I think, as recently as first preview, second preview, something like that.
She was not rewriting, but adding. She was like, let's see if Harriette can pull it off.
Like, let me test Harriette further. Yeah.
Oh, that's the number 3 sin a playwright can commit.
That's what's so cool about working in the room with the playwright too, right? Because, like, we want it to be as real and as visceral as possible. Yeah. And so she's able to, tinker here and tinker there. And okay, great. Like, yeah, I have to go home and learn a couple of new lines or learn a new monologue. I would much rather do that and really get our point across.
How do you manage to do this every night, Harriette?
Well, fortunately, it's not every night. or she wouldn't
Well,
probably be
each
here.
night,
Too
each night.
sleepy.
Yeah. I don't mean every night, but each night, because this
Most
sounds
nights.
like,
It's hard.
yeah, I can't imagine.
Harriet, what is your process of doing? How are you able to cope?
Oh, I mean, look, it's hard. I come home and I'm a little wound up for a while, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
A burrito at least once a week is necessary. Um, I have my animals, my cat's on my lap right now. But it's really just kind of decompressing and taking myself out of those circumstances. The end of the play is we end in a really, I mean, look, it's a euphoric high, but there's still so much darkness around what has happened
Yeah.
that it does take a minute. And I think it's just, breathing and coming down and eating my burrito and taking a walk and saying, okay, I'm safe right now. My loved ones are safe. And I'm just happy to be able to put this story forward. What's really cool is that I've done a little bit of like activism theater in my day, but this is the most um activism forward I think that I've ever done. And I'm just so proud to be able to use my artistry to talk about this issue. I think it's the easiest sell too, because it's like, okay, you should learn about this, so you should come to this show.
Okay, let's talk about responses to this, and I want to talk about A, reviews, and then B, what actual audience members are saying, because those can be two completely different things. And what's it been like when it's been written about?
I don't really read reviews, but I'll be happy. First of all, I think I really need to bring in some other names here. So
Okay, yeah.
it's directed by Jeanette Harrison,
Who we love.
who we love. And in addition to the great Harriet, it also stars Carolyn Dunn, Janine Washington, and Zoe Reyes. And they are all just phenomenal in it. It's like they're an amazing ensemble, and they all have amazing moments too. It's just they're a tremendously talented cast. One of the things that has happened to me with this show is that strangers write me out of the blue via my website and tell me things about how beautiful it was, how moving it was, how they didn't know these things, that they can't stop thinking about the issue because of the play. I think that I have been exposed to some reviews and some of the reviews I've read have called it important and powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Last night, I was exposed to the AI generated summary about the play, which I was kind of like, oh, did I really want to hear this? Read this? But it's very interesting to me that some critics believe they're experts on Native American dialogue. That's very interesting to me.
Okay.
And also that some critics believe that they are experts on indigenous performance structure. That is also really interesting to me to learn.
We're talking about from non-Native Americans.
Yeah, right. But just find everyone, this show is for everyone. So that part has been instructive to me anyway. But I have been, like I said, this has been hard. George, can we just back up a little bit about another reason it's been so hard?
Yeah, no, let's go anywhere you want.
Okay, because I am currently still an evacuated person from the Palisades fires.
Yeah, that's right.
The show had to be postponed a month because of the horrific Eaton fires, Palisades fires. I mean, this cast has had to go through so much. I'm not even gonna say really who, but there was a death in someone's family involved with the show. There were other physical things that were difficult involved with the show. I mean, this cast, we've had so many obstacles. I still can't live in my home yet, from the fires. So we've really had to push through a lot. And if anything, to get someone who wants to meet me who doesn't know me, who wants to meet me after the show and asks somebody, hey, is the playwright here, blah, blah, and then tells me what they think of it in terms of, I cried, I'm so moved by this, you know, thank you so much for bringing this to light. You know, that's really all I'm hoping for. And like I said earlier in the show, if we can get people to do something about it, then that's a success for me. Yeah. You know, regardless of whatever people think about the structure or the dialogue, yeah, or, you know, if people mislabel things, like somebody I think said there was a prologue in the show when I think they really meant epilogue, but it's really, there was no epilogue or prologue in the show. You know, it's things like that that doesn't really matter to me. But what, yeah, it matters to me is when people have said, you've touched me, I'm going to try to do something about this.
That's about the best I think you can hope for at this point, because talking to people about something, it's easy for them to turn you off. But when they're sitting there in a seat and they're being told by real people, real stories, and it's in their face, and you tell it with the talent that I know you have, okay, as a playwright. Well, we've been through this before. You've been on the show before.
Come on, Laura.
Yeah.
No, you guys are too kind.
And exceptional acting talent that goes along with it. It's a moving experience, and I don't see. It's easy to believe that people can become affected, and once they become affected, you've reached somebody. You've now taken this and moved it into their reality, into their consciousness. It is no longer an isolated, abstract topic. Real people have brought their pain, have brought their situation, have brought their experiences into your life. You can't unsee that. You can't undo that. And it's what theater is supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, you know, one of the things that we've done with the show that we all felt very strongly about, and it's something Harriette does every Sunday, is we have audience talkbacks. Mm-hmm. And they've been really, really, I believe, I'm not even at all of them. I won't be at the next one. But they've been very effective in terms of audience engagement, discussing what are the action items you can take. And also, you asked me earlier about the history of it. You know, yeah, we've had, I know, like our first or second rehearsal, I'm sure Harriette remembers this too, when I started telling the Chickasaw Nation tale of Panther Woman, which I won't go into in great detail right now, but that was an example of a woman leader in 1541, May of 1541, standing up against Hernando de Soto because he wanted to take all the women and the children from the Chickasaw village and go on the road and have them carry their equipment. And instead she said, no, we're going to ambush them. And they did. And then they pushed them back a mile. The next day they pushed them back another mile. And then they didn't bother the Chickasaws for 150 years. Now, could that be classified as an MMIW event? I don't know, but it's an example of fighting back against oppression that was also gender-based, that, you know, that my tribe did in 1541. And we had another speaker, Cynthia Ruiz, who was fantastic Cherokee Latina author, speaker, professor. And she talked about how there are 450 years of it in her tribe of pushing back against the same systemic and, you know, often gendered oppression. So this is something that's been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's not suddenly new, you know. Yeah. And in the 20th century, that, I mean, this is not the first play about it by any means. And I don't want to sit here and act like, you know, that I'm the first person to write about it. Right. I am not. I'm in a long line of people trying to write about it. And
you are current.
I'm currently, you know, I have a play up right now, thank God, knock wood. But, you know, I mean, this is something that's been going on for a long, long time. And like I said at the beginning, I believe that our neighbors, because to me, they are our neighbors and friends in Canada and First Nations, have really been more bravely approaching it in theater main stages than we have in this country. But it is something that all over Turtle Island is an issue and has been going on for a long, long time and needs to be needs to be ended. I mean, that needs to be stopped. There's just no question about it. And whether, you asked me earlier, what are the various things? Well, one of the things that is said in the show in the first 4 minutes of it is one character goes through a list of all the things that you're told as a Native American person filing a missing and murdered Indigenous person report, which is that, oh, they're just a runaway, maybe. Oh, human trafficking. Oh, we don't have the resources to do it. Oh, they wanted to go. They don't want to stay with you. They've gone on to greener pastures on their own volition. Oh, drugs are used. Oh, are they a sex worker? There are things like this that have impede investigations from the start. And to be fair, I think that depending on where someone disappears, it can be that, oh, in that jurisdiction or whatever, that area, they don't have the resources to look. They legitimately do not have it. And a while, I guess it was just last week. It seems like so long ago, but a week ago, I was so lucky to be an invited guest on Native America Calling, which is a radio show out of Albuquerque it plays in 81 markets across the US. And this was an MMIP show specifically. And they had they had someone who works in the missing and murdered unit on. They had legislators in various states, most specifically New Mexico and Oklahoma, who were still who were getting legislation passed to try and make these law enforcement entities talk to each other. Just have them share data, which is still some of our most famous laws that have been passed. When I'm talking about Savannah's Act and the Non-Invisible Act, I'm getting the name wrong of that one. Maybe you could help me, Harriette.
I think it is the Non-Invisible Act. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway, and those also have a shared data component to them, but states are also doing it at the state level. And one of the things that was happening, I believe it was in New Mexico, was bringing about a turquoise alert, so that when an Indigenous person disappears in New Mexico, it becomes like an amber alert, and there's an immediate attention flashed on signs about it. But anyway, it's a really complex issue. Like, somebody asked me for some magazine article to try and summarize it. It's like, to be honest, there have been dissertations written on it. There has been, it's a really complex social, historical, geopolitical issue, but that doesn't mean that we can't solve it.
But to be effective, it needs not just one mention. It doesn't need a PhD. It doesn't need just one play. It doesn't need just one anything, because time erases that. No matter how serious, no matter how major anything can be, we get past it. We grow past it. We move on to other things. The message needs to keep coming.
And it needs to be heard and taken in by communities that aren't just the Native community, which I think is what we're trying to do here with this play. This play is absolutely for Native people, but it's absolutely for people that never have heard of MMIW. We had a smaller house the other night, and we had two people in the front row. And when you have a smaller house with a show like this, you get a little, like, anytime you have a smaller house, but you get a little frustrated. And it occurred to me on stage, like, oh my gosh, I'm talking about not being heard. I'm talking about nobody listening, and there's not a ton of people listening in the room. But at the end, we had these two people in the front row who were just so clearly affected, and just, tears streaming down their faces, had clearly not heard about this before, and we're going to go forward and talk about it. And that's all that we can ask at this point, is just, please continue to talk about this issue. Please let it transcend the Native community, so that all communities know that we are hurting. We've been hurting since Chris Columbus came over, since the Spaniards came over. We have always been an oppressed community, and we need people to listen and care about that. Please.
Do you think it's going to get much harder now with the new administration?
How could it not?
Yeah, well, I mean, come on, that was a softball question, but still, because you're talking about the message getting to certain ears, and yes, it needs to be told and told and retold again until we don't need to tell it anymore. Uh,
Right. And
but
yes.
it's in part of the research I did, we're talking about Deb Haaland, who was the
Mhm,
outgoing, she was under Biden, the Secretary of the Interior, Native American
mhm.
woman, first ever appointed to a cabinet position, and she started the missing and murdered unit. And part of me is thinking, oh my God, thank you. Yes, it's actually now in the White House. These voices are now reaching the White House. And now I'm thinking, geez, not this White House.
Well, we have a line about that in the show. I won't say it's near the end, but what happens now is kind of,
Yeah,
I think, the line. But someone from the MMU was on the radio show I was on a week ago of Native America Calling, and they're very actively still working. I was glad to hear it. And one of the things that came up to your point, George, and I mean, Harriet knows this, especially because of how the play ends, but one thing that an activist said that they think is so, so important right now is media. And that when she takes on a client, she's an advocate for, I believe this was a person who advocates for missing and murdered families. And when she takes on a case, that's what she tells them that the most important thing they can do is try and get media. And we certainly have a media component, the way that the show ends, when in a certain way is very meta, at least by my thinking about it structurally. But anyway, it's meta in that we have, four Native American women telling you about these things, and it's a media event, and you're watching it in a theater, so it's like, that's what I mean about the meta component of it. But um, I do really think that we need to publicize in every way we can. And do I think one play can change this? I do not. But do I
yeah, but it's
think that,
changing some people. Some people are walking
yeah,
out of there with a whole new reality that
right.
didn't exist before.
And it adds to the chorus, the collective chorus about it. That's
Yeah,
what I feel really strongly,
I love that
very
line.
well. Oh, good, Harriet. I'm glad because you're making it happen. So, I mean, the whole cast makes it happen. It's just, and the director who did some amazing Indigenous oriented staging in it too. That, I mean, uh, in terms of Indigenous performance, the AI. The AI summary that I read called it authentic, and I was like, "Oh, good,
Thank
glad,
you.
can you
glad to
actually
hear."
trust something that came from AI? I mean,
Well, I mean, that's the first thing that comes up now, I guess, when you Google the play
wow.
title. But anyway, I was kind of like, "Well, thank you, AI. I'm so glad we're authentic. That's great." But
An
A machine
inauthentic thing
telling you
calling you
you're
authentic.
authentic. That's yeah.
yeah, but
Um,
that, so I mean, that's what I really feel like, is that's another thing that so in all seriousness, in a meta way, George, by
yeah,
interviewing us, you are bringing media to it as well. And so that's what it's going to take. It's going to take um what is the skateboarder doing over here, that the skateboarder is going across America to raise money for MMIW? That counts as part of the
yeah.
collective chorus as well. I mean, it's like, what is someone running across the country in order to bring attention to MMIW, or just across their state? That counts as part of the collective chorus. So we are part of this. That just, are we getting through? Are we breaking through so that someone new is talking about it in some way? And then will you then call someone or donate to a tribe, or donate to the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center, or if you live in a state where you could volunteer to be a searcher? These are things that, I mean, I don't know, the laws of all the different various states, but be an ally if you can, through the various ways. Then we will have done something, that we set
Yeah.
out to do.
Does Four Women in Red have a life after Victory Theater? Is it going anywhere else? Is anybody else looking at it?
Um, well, it's funny you should ask me that, because two other two other parts of the country, they're Native American female leaders who have reached
Yeah.
out to me about possibly bringing it there. And I mean, I haven't wanted to bother the cast about that. And I don't know, everyone's we got a really professional cast. So, they're probably already booked up for the next year. So, knowing them, but,
free as a bird, Laura. We'll talk.
That's one. Talk, here we go.
Okay. We'll talk soon here. Anyway, but there is interest. People have wanted to bring it to their communities. And so that's heartening to me, but I'll tell you something that Delana Studi and Elisa Blanford of Native Voices at the Ottery were our panelist leaders on Sunday. And Delana's the artistic director of Native Voices, and Elisa Blanford's the managing director. And they were instrumental. The show wouldn't exist without Native Voices at all.
Right.
And, God bless the Victory Theater for loving it too. But, and that means the world to me. And we've got to give a shout out to producer Maria Gobetti, because she really stuck by the show through a lot of hardship. But one of the things that Delana said was, she said, this show should be on stage at every theater in the United States right now. And the reason she said that was because of what we're talking about with Emily Pike and the element of crisis that is going on, that, is happening right now in terms of missing and murdered Indigenous people.
So if you're going to get this show on every stage in America, which I would love to see it, how can they get in touch with you? How can theater people and artistic directors and actors find out how to talk to you, where to get a copy of this thing, and where to go from there?
They can just go to my website, to the contact page, laurashamas.com, and there's a tab to hit contact, and that's where they've been contacting me so far. So, I read everything that comes, and I try and respond to everything that comes too. I'm happy to respond, and we just need to keep getting the word out, and I think that there are going to be some more MMIW plays to talk about later in the year as well. So, we're going to just try and keep the conversation going as much as we can with it.
Good, because this play is too important, and this issue is much too tragic to not be on everybody's lips.
Well, thank you. One thing I will say, so that people are aware, these are resilient characters in the show. These are women who, in grief, organize and take action. So in a certain way, I believe that the play is a model in a certain way about how to fight systemic oppression.
Okay. Yeah. Laura Shamas and Harriette Feliz, I can't thank you both enough for taking the time to be on the show. And I wish you both the best of luck in the future. And I really hope this play reaches every theater in the United States, Canada, and wherever else.
Sarah, can you hear me? Joe to Sarah? Joe to Sarah? Come in. Come home. Mom doesn't know I still talk to you every night, Sarah. I don't want her to go crazy or think I've gone crazy, so don't tell her. But I think you can still hear me. Just like when we were kids and we'd talk in the dark for hours after Mom turned out the lights. I could always count on you. And you listen to my poems late at night. Remember when I'd turn on the covers and whisper read to you from my scribbles? I mean, you were my cheer squad. I'm trying to write a new one about you. It's called Lean. It's about that summer we built the secret lean-to by the river all by ourselves. We gathered all the wood and we fit it together. And then the rain came. I could always lean on you. We love you, Sarah. Come home, please.
Hey kids, thanks for listening to Onstage Offstage. Onstage Offstage is produced monthly, and all of our shows can be found at onstageoffstage.org, and also on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, and Google Podcasts. If you enjoy what we do, please recommend us to your friends. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at OnOffStage. And if you are a theater artist with an upcoming project or interest, or know of someone in the theater world who'd make good chat, by all means, send us a note at onstageoffstagepodcast@gmail.com. Our theme music is Don't Worry, Be Frappy by the composer Max Dickinson. You can find a lot more of Max's magnificent music on SoundCloud. I'm George Sapio. Thanks once again for listening, and please be kind to those with whom we share this rock. And as always, happy theatering to all of you.